Imagine this, a moment when a woman's desire doesn't just ignite, it flows effortlessly, almost like a rhythm that both partners can feel but can't quite explain. What truly satisfies women's sexual desire isn't just performance or passion, it's psychology in motion, the unspoken language of emotional attunement, timing, and connection. In this documentary, we'll explore what really happens in the female mind and body when desire comes alive, not as a fantasy, but as a real shared experience. I'm Dr. Justin Lehmiller, and together we're diving deep into how desire is expressed, received, and satisfied in action. All right, imagine this. You're lying next to someone you truly care about. The lights are dim, the air feels warm, and everything in your body says this is right. But here's the interesting thing: long before the first touch happens, before lips meet or hands explore, the process of satisfaction has already begun quietly, invisibly inside the brain. This is where women's desire really starts to unfold. And if we can understand what's happening up there, we can completely change what happens down here. When we talk about sexual satisfaction, most people immediately think of physical performance, techniques, positions, stamina, the external markers of good sex. But psychology tells us something far more fascinating. Desire for many women begins with emotional safety, that sense that she can let go without judgment. You see, the female brain has evolved to connect safety with arousal. The same areas of the brain responsible for detecting threat are directly wired to the regions that govern desire. That means if her body doesn't feel emotionally secure, it will unconsciously shut down the very pathways that create pleasure. Think about that for a moment. You could have the perfect setting, the right mood, but if there's tension, if there's uncertainty, her mind can't fully surrender to the experience. And surrender, that's the secret ingredient most people overlook. It's not about control, it's about release. The most satisfying sexual experiences happen when the brain finally says, I'm safe here. Because once that switch flips, the body stops protecting itself and starts feeling. What's fascinating is how anticipation builds this process. Desire isn't a sudden spark, it's a slow burn. Studies show that women's brains light up in anticipation more intensely than in the act itself. It's the teasing, the imagining, the emotional buildup that actually fuels the physical response. In other words, the foreplay doesn't just happen in the body, it happens in the mind, hours or even days before anything physical begins. I once spoke with a woman during my research who said something that stuck with me. She said, when my partner listens to me, really listens, I already feel turned on. That might sound simple, but neurologically, it's profound. Listening activates the same bonding chemicals, oxytocin, dopamine, that play a crucial role in sexual arousal. When a woman feels seen and heard, her brain releases trust hormones, signaling that this connection is safe, that pleasure can happen without fear. There's also this beautiful irony in how the brain manages desire. For women, arousal and stress can't coexist easily. The body reads stress as danger, even if it's just mental, a deadline, an argument, a lingering insecurity. The stress hormone cortisol suppresses the brain's reward system, making it harder to feel pleasure. So when we say emotional safety is the foundation of desire, it's not just poetic, it's biological. Her body literally needs calm to feel excitement. And that's where communication becomes foreplay. It's not the kind of communication we think of as checking boxes. What do you like? Are you okay with this? But something deeper, more fluid. It's the kind that builds trust in small moments. The text throughout the day, the shared laughter, the warmth of genuine curiosity about her inner world. Every one of those interactions primes the brain for intimacy. They tell the body, this connection is worth exploring. It's interesting when we look at fMRI scans of the brain during desire, we don't just see the pleasure centers light up. We see areas associated with imagination, empathy, and memory. That means when a woman is aroused, she's not just responding to the present moment. She's bringing her past experiences, her emotional memories, even her fantasies into the experience. Her desire is a whole body, whole mind phenomenon, and that's what makes it so unique. Men, on average, have a more spontaneous pattern of arousal. A visual or physical cue can trigger desire quickly. But for many women, desire is responsive. It grows from context, connection, and emotional resonance. So when we talk about satisfying women's sexual desire, what we're really talking about is understanding the rhythm of that responsiveness. It's not about speeding it up. It's about honoring the slow wave of it. Let me give you a mental image. Picture a dimly lit room, music in the background, not necessarily romantic, just something that feels alive. She's sitting there relaxed, her partner close, but not yet touching. The moment feels unhurried, unpressured. Her mind starts to wander, not out of disinterest, but because it's weaving the emotional story of what's happening. That narrative, that sense of meaning, is what begins to turn desire into something deeper. Because at the core of sexual satisfaction isn't just pleasure, its significance. That's one of the reasons why women often describe their most memorable sexual experiences not as the most intense, but as the most connected. The difference lies in attunement. When two people are truly tuned in to each other's energy, the brain synchronizes in a phenomenon called interpersonal resonance. Their breathing starts to match, heart rates align, even micro movements start to mirror each other. It's the science of connection, and it's incredibly erotic. One study from the Kinsey Institute found that couples who felt emotionally close before sex reported up to 60% higher levels of satisfaction afterward. Not because the sex was longer or more adventurous, but because the connection made their brains release more oxytocin, the same hormone released during childbirth and breastfeeding. It's nature's way of saying you're safe, you belong here. This is why emotional intimacy is not just a romantic ideal, it's a biological necessity for fulfilling sex. When a woman feels secure, her body's arousal system becomes more responsive. Blood flow increases, sensitivity heightens, and her mind allows the body to follow. Desire becomes a full bodied immersive experience, not something that needs to be performed, but something that naturally unfolds. There's also the element of curiosity, something I always emphasize in my research. Curiosity keeps desire alive. It says, I want to know you even if I already know you. That mindset turns routine into rediscovery. It keeps the dopamine system, the brain's pleasure circuit, active and engaged. And here's the beauty of it: the brain doesn't differentiate much between sexual novelty and emotional novelty. Trying something new in how you connect, how you talk, how you express affection, it all feeds the same reward loop. Another fascinating layer is how fantasy plays into satisfaction. Fantasy isn't a betrayal of reality, it's a way for the mind to explore desire safely. For women, fantasy often blends emotional and erotic themes, power, vulnerability, connection. The brain doesn't always separate these ideas neatly, they overlap, creating an experience that feels both intimate and thrilling. When that mental world is shared with a partner, even in fragments, it can deepen trust. It says, I'm letting you see a part of my inner landscape. That kind of vulnerability is pure fuel for connection. Now, let's talk about presence, the underrated skill in sexual satisfaction. Being present sounds easy, but in reality, most of us are distracted. Our minds drift to performance, to expectations, to self criticism. But desire, especially women's desire, thrives in the now. When a partner is fully present, attuned to touch, breath, and subtle reactions, it sends a signal to the brain, you matter here. That awareness, that emotional mirroring reinforces safety again and again. Presence also enhances empathy. The mirror neuron system in our brain, the one that helps us feel what others feel, becomes more active when we're closely connected. This is what allows one partner to intuitively sense what the other needs without words. It's also what transforms physical pleasure into emotional intimacy. So, when we think about satisfying women's sexual desire in action, it's not about trying harder, it's about feeling deeper. It's about understanding that satisfaction is built on layers of emotional openness. Psychological trust, anticipation, communication, and presence. These are the silent forces shaping every intimate encounter. And here's the paradox: the more emotional safety there is, the more adventurous desire can become. When the mind feels secure, it allows the body to explore boundaries, experiment, and express fantasies freely. Safety isn't the opposite of excitement, it's the foundation that makes excitement sustainable. Without it, pleasure is fleeting. With it, pleasure becomes transformative. In one of my studies, participants described their best sexual experiences with words like free and connected, known, seen, not wild or perfect, though those can be part of it, but known. That tells us something powerful. Satisfaction isn't about intensity, it's about authenticity. The best sex isn't when you're trying to impress, it's when you're both just present, real, and open. The human brain, in all its complexity, is wired to seek connection. From infancy, we learn to associate touch with safety, eye contact with love, closeness with belonging. As adults, those same circuits light up in intimacy. So when we talk about sexual desire, we're not just talking about reproduction or pleasure, we're talking about one of the deepest expressions of human connection. When emotional safety and curiosity intertwine, something magical happens. Desire stops being a chase and becomes a dance. There's rhythm, flow, and unspoken understanding. Satisfaction isn't measured in orgasms or duration. It's felt in the quiet moments afterward, when both people exhale and realize they were completely beautifully seen. And maybe that's what we've been missing in how we talk about women's desire. It's not mysterious, it's not complicated, it's intelligent. It's the body's way of saying, I want to connect deeply, but only where it feels safe enough to be real. Once we understand that, everything else, the touch, the passion, the pleasure, naturally follows. Because at the heart of every satisfying experience isn't performance, it's presence, it's emotional trust. It's two people creating a space where both can let go of the world and simply be freely human. That's where true satisfaction begins, long before touch, long before the act. It starts with the mind whispering, I trust you. And from that moment on, everything else, every heartbeat, every breath, every spark of desire finally has permission to bloom. Picture this: two people caught in a moment that feels alive, the kind of intimacy where everything seems to move in perfect rhythm, touch, breath, heartbeat. You can't quite tell who's leading and who's following. It's not about domination or submission, it's about synchronization. That's where satisfaction truly lives, in responsiveness. In that delicate exchange where one partner feels the other shifts, reads the subtle cues, and adjusts in real time, it's less about performance and more about attunement. And when that happens, something remarkable unfolds. Desire stops being an act and becomes an experience. When I talk about responsiveness, people often assume I mean verbal feedback. Tell me what you like. Sure, that's part of it. But in reality, the most powerful forms of responsiveness happen wordlessly. The body speaks its own language, a slight arch of the back, a change in breathing, the rhythm of a sigh. These are emotional signals translated into physical form. The most attuned partners don't just notice them, they feel them. Their brains literally mirror each other's emotional states, a phenomenon neuroscientists call empathic resonance. It's as if two nervous systems are having a conversation underneath the surface. Research actually shows that when couples are highly connected during intimacy, their brainwaves start to synchronize, heart rates too. It's not poetic exaggeration, it's biology. The more in sync the bodies become, the more the brain releases oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, creating a chemical feedback loop of connection and pleasure. The act stops being about doing and becomes about being. That's why truly satisfying intimacy can feel timeless, as if the world has dissolved and there's nothing left but sensation and presence. And here's the fascinating part: the female brain during arousal becomes especially sensitive to social and emotional feedback. Studies have found that areas responsible for empathy and awareness light up during sexual encounters. That means a woman's arousal isn't just about physical stimulation, it's about how her partner's energy aligns with hers. If she feels understood, if her cues are met with responsiveness instead of pressure, her entire pleasure system opens up. The body's responses, lubrication, muscle contractions, even the intensity of orgasm, are influenced by emotional context. That's what makes responsiveness so powerful. It's a real time dance between bodies and minds. Every small act of attention, every adjustment, pause, or shift in pace communicates something deeper. I see you, I'm with you. That's what turns pleasure into connection. It's the difference between feeling desired and feeling understood. Now, here's a secret most people never talk about. Sexual satisfaction is not just about stimulation, it's about regulation. When one partner responds with presence and attunement, they help regulate the other's emotional and physiological state. This is something we call co regulation in psychology, the ability of one nervous system to calm and balance another. During sex, this means a partner's touch, tone, and energy can literally shape the other's emotional experience. So when someone says, I feel safe with you, it's not just romantic, it's neurochemical truth. Their stress hormones drop, their heart rate stabilizes, and their body relaxes enough to experience deeper pleasure. That's why responsiveness can't be faked. You can mimic technique, but you can't counterfeit emotional presence. The body knows. When a partner is truly tuned in, every move feels organic, fluid, and mutual. When they're not, everything feels mechanical, even if the performance looks perfect. I once interviewed a participant who said, the best sex I ever had wasn't about what he did. It was that he noticed. He noticed when I hesitated. He noticed when I relaxed. He responded. That's the essence of a responsiveness, is awareness in motion. It's not about being a mind reader, it's about being a listener. And the body, when listened to, tells you everything you need to know. There's another fascinating detail in the research: women who perceive their partners as emotionally responsive report significantly higher sexual satisfaction, not just in the moment, but over time. It builds a kind of feedback loop. Emotional trust increases desire, desire strengthens connection, connection deepens trust. It's the cycle of intimacy, and responsiveness is what keeps it alive. The brain plays an enormous role in this. During responsive sex, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-judgment and inhibition, actually quiets down. It's what scientists call transient hypofrontality. Essentially, the brain stops overthinking and starts feeling. That's what allows for complete immersion, the kind where you lose track of time, yourself, even of separateness. In that moment, satisfaction isn't something you chase, it's something you inhabit. And yet, so many people miss this because they're focused on outcomes. They think satisfaction is about achieving orgasm, performing well, or proving something. But the more you chase control, the more you lose connection. The best lovers aren't the ones who try to impress, they're the ones who can adapt. They can shift with the moment, slow down when the energy calls for it, amplify when it builds. Responsiveness isn't static, it's dynamic. It's an art of listening with the whole body. Think of it this way: when a woman feels that her partner is attuned to her, her brain interprets that as emotional security. The amygdala, which usually scans for danger, quiets down. That allows the body's arousal network, the hypothalamus and limbic system, to function freely. It's like flipping a switch from protection to pleasure. That's why satisfaction can't exist without trust. You can't open the body without first calming the mind. Touch, too, plays a huge role here. Not all touch is created equal. Responsive touch is exploratory, not goal oriented. It's curious. It listens. Every time the hand moves, it's asking a question: is this what you want? And the body answers not with words, but with tiny cues. A breath quickening, a soft sound, a subtle movement closer. Those are the moments that guide intimacy into flow. Flow, that's the perfect word for it. Psychologists define flow as a state where awareness and action merge, where you're fully present, not thinking, just being. Sexual flow happens when both partners are responsive enough to move as one organism. There's no effort, no forcing, just harmony. And here's the kicker: couples who experience flow together don't just feel more pleasure, they report stronger emotional bonds outside the bedroom too. Because that responsiveness, that shared rhythm, carries over into everyday life. In long term relationships, maintaining that kind of connection becomes a subtle art. Familiarity can dull responsiveness if we let routine replace curiosity. But here's what's beautiful: the same neural circuits that respond to novelty also respond to genuine attention. You don't always need something new, you just need to notice something again. When you look at your partner as if you're seeing them for the first time, the brain releases dopamine, the same chemical triggered by novelty. That means rediscovery can be just as powerful as discovery. So, responsiveness isn't just a skill for great sex, it's a mindset. It's staying open, adaptable, curious. It's understanding that every experience, every moment of desire is unique, and the only way to truly satisfy someone is to stay awake to that uniqueness. There's a deeper layer here, too, something almost spiritual. When two people are fully responsive to each other, they're not just engaging in sex, they're engaging in mutual creation. They're shaping each other's experience in real time. Every touch, every glance, every sound is feedback that builds the next moment. It's a living conversation, a dialogue of sensation. And when both partners participate in that dialogue equally, the result isn't just pleasure, it's connection that feels transcendent. You can see this even in the brain scans of people in love. When they're exposed to their partner's face, the areas linked to reward and motivation light up, but so do the regions responsible for empathy and emotion regulation. That means desire and compassion aren't opposites, they're allies. The most satisfying sexual experiences are those where passion and care coexist. When you want your partner and you want them to feel wanted, that's when intimacy becomes meaningful. This responsiveness even has measurable benefits beyond pleasure. It lowers stress, improves immune function, and increases relationship satisfaction. Because when the brain learns that intimacy equals safety, it rewires itself for openness. It becomes easier to trust, easier to express, easier to desire. I often tell people satisfying women's desire isn't about unlocking a secret code. It's about learning to respond instead of react. Reactions are automatic, mechanical. Responses are conscious, intentional. They say, I'm here, I'm aware, and I'm attuned to you. That kind of presence transforms sex from an act of release into an act of connection. And the truth is, responsiveness is what women remember most. Not the exact position or the duration, but the feeling of being felt, that their pleasure mattered, that they could express and be received. That memory stays in the nervous system. It builds trust that lasts far beyond the moment. Sometimes satisfaction isn't about doing more, it's about noticing more. The curve of a smile mid kiss, the way her body shifts closer when she feels seen, the quiet sigh that means she's let go of the world for just a second. These moments are small, but they carry enormous psychological weight. They tell her brain, you're safe, you're desired, you can let go. And when she lets go, truly lets go, that's when you see desire at its fullest. It's not passive, it's participatory. It's active surrender, a paradox where she feels free precisely because she feels understood. That's the kind of satisfaction that lingers, the kind that reshapes how the body and brain remember pleasure. What's beautiful about this is that it doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand constant intensity. It just asks for awareness, the willingness to be present, curious, and responsive. Because in those moments when two people truly tune into each other, the rest takes care of itself. The body knows, the mind follows. And maybe that's the quiet truth about satisfaction. It isn't a performance to master, it's a conversation to join, a conversation written in touch and rhythm in the spaces between words. When both people listen, respond, and move together, that's when intimacy stops being something you do and becomes something you are. In the end, the most powerful thing you can give a partner isn't passion or perfection. It's responsiveness, the sense that every part of you is paying attention. Because when desire feels mutual, mirrored, and understood, satisfaction stops being a goal and becomes a natural consequence of connection. That's the beauty of it. Desire isn't something to chase, it's something to respond to. And when both people do, the result isn't just pleasure, it's presence, it's harmony, it's the purest expression of being human. Two minds, two bodies, meeting not in performance, but in profound understanding.